what do you think makes a game fun? Is it the
Ooh,
story or the mechanics?
it is all right. So I'm a bit biased. I love story, big story
Sure,
guy, but I cannot
sure.
deny you can make a game that's just pure story, like a I'm gonna say this and it's gonna sound rude, like a walking simulator. Like, I don't mean that in any negative connotation. I have nothing against considering walking simulators like games, but if you're making a walking simulator, you need a good story to justify that aspect. Like, when you think about video games, you're thinking, I'm interacting with the game, I'm the force that causes the game to move forward. And if you're just observing the video game mostly, then the story needs to be fire. At that point, the difference between a walking simulator and a movie is you can kind of control the pace. And if you can't control the pace and you're just struggling, then just watch a movie. So for me, what makes a good game has to be great story with at least a good gameplay loop. Like I'm
Mm,
again, big bias on my end. Love story. Story over mechanics, but mechanics
yeah,
are important.
yeah.
What about you? How you which what would you put your hands in?
I'm definitely on the opposite side of that spectrum.
I'm not
I
gonna
would
lie,
say,
I knew that was coming. Big
I
mechanics
would
guy over here.
say, yeah, I would say mechanics, right? While a good story can make a game super interesting and sell the reason for the mechanics, without good mechanics, a game becomes a graphic novel, right? It turns into that R.L. Stein,
Jackson
Goosebumps,
Stung. Mm.
turn to page 32 if you would do A, turn to page 47 if you would do B. Like that's boring to me. And once again, this is personal preference, but at the end of the day, that's boring to me. I want to be a bit more in
Involved.
control of what happens and involved, right? And
Okay.
and I think game mechanics sell that.
Mhm.
There are some exceptions to the rules. We'll
Oh,
get into
true,
that later.
true.
But for the most part, if a game has bad or few mechanics, I feel like immersion is destroyed instantly. I think the very minute that you're struggling with the game's mechanics, it's over. It doesn't matter how good the story is. It doesn't matter if you're wrapped up in it at that moment when it's not functioning the way that you need it to, or that it should, or that is expected based on what's presented, that you're going to break immersion. I also think that the mechanics sell the story, right? Like, and
Ooh.
so
Whoa.
it's like a.
Put that pistol away, alright? 'Cause
I'm just saying.
talking big game right there. Mechanics selling story? Sometimes.
I'm just
I
saying.
can't.
It's a give and take. It's a give and take. You know, story sell mechanics, right? Like,
That I could see.
Street Fighter, for example. Ryu has these combinations and these power ups and these special, abilities that go with his actual background story. So when he's doing, a Hadouken or whatever, like it connects itself with this character's background story to make it all make sense. Yet at the same time, based on the way that Street Fighter is set up, which is a perfect game for this example, the mechanics really sell Street Fighter because Street Fighter is introduced in the arcade, and you don't really get too much backstory about Ryu or Ken or anyone when you're at the arcade. Like, you just see these characters, you pick them, and as you do the moves, you learn what they do. So that's where I think like mechanics
I'm
becomes
about to blow this whole thing
the
wide
the,
open.
the paramount for sure. It becomes the paramount in this issue because it's like mechanics are what keep the player engaged.
Mhm.
The story usually sells the mechanics, or the mechanics sell the story. So I
Okay,
think I think
okay.
mechanics make the game most fun. Yeah.
So, you brought up Street Fighter, which great game to pick. That's a mechanic heavy game, very
Mhm.
technical. What happened when Ryu I think it was Street Fighter 2, Ryu gets into a fight, he beats somebody, and then he would say this line that was mistranslated, which caused a huge thing where people were hunting down this mysterious character. He would win a fight and he'd be like, "You couldn't defeat me unless you beat Shang Long," or something like that.
Right.
That was even though it was just a small level of dialogue that was just mistranslated, it created this huge story which pushed that game even bigger. Which I'm saying, even though the mechanics were the main aspect of the game, the concept of there's a possible story here, there's a possible something here, blew it up even higher. Now Street Fighter is like a mainstay. They actually released that character now. Like
Mhm.
story, Whether you want to admit it or not, either even though you're not saying anything against it, story can really push things to the forefront on a higher level than just plain mechanics. That's why I believe, on a personal level, Call of Duty fell off after what you call Black Ops 2. The story just didn't
Mm,
hit that well for me anymore because I was like, well,
mm,
there's no story here. The
mm.
mechanics, can't deny it was fun. But if you think of one of the biggest flops in Call of Duty's history, what was Advanced Warfare? Some of the best mechanics I've ever seen in a Call of Duty game. Worst one ever. Worst Call of Duty ever because I'm sorry to say, the story did not hit. Did not hit. Story carries games when the mechanic and the gameplay loop gets stale.
I, I'll agree with you there. I'll say the issue with Call of Duty is that their mechanics are a little cookie cutter.
It is.
Um, and so because of that, you already know what to expect going in. So if there's no story to sell why you're here, that is going to create an issue because you already know what to expect. So
Exactly.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that.